Okay, I just watched the last episode, the season one finale of Blue Eye Samurai. Spoiler alert. It's the eighth episode. They've got to come out with another season because this thing sets up so nice. And it was a fantastic watch. Of course, I started this channel because my son wanted me to watch the anime Vinland Saga. And then he picked this one for me. And I'm going on to Cowboy Bebop next, which I thought was a joke, that name. But anyway, this particular episode, though, was magnificent, and I've thoroughly enjoyed this journey. What I typically do is I watch the show, and then I turn on my camera, and I just talk about it. This is the first time, 48 episodes of Vinland Saga, 8 episodes of Blue Eye Samurai. This is the first time I actually took notes. There was so much going on. I couldn't remember. It was the episode is so dense. I couldn't remember all the things that had happened that I wanted to address. I'm going to try very hard to not make this video ridiculously long. I think my longest video before now has been 17 minutes. I don't want it to be 15, but we'll see what happens. The episode starts with Bisu and Ringo going into Edo. And, of course, Fowler's plot is about to happen. Akemi's wedding. And she has Ringo at the city sewer, and she's like, wait at the sewer for Akemi. Her plan is to go in there, free Akemi, send her to Ringo, and then go in there and kill Fowler. Because she promised Ringo she was going to free Akemi. Ringo was still actually left her for a minute, was mad at her for abandoning Akemi before, when they were fighting in another situation. So she made that promise to him. So that was that. So Ringo's waiting outside the city for Akemi to arrive so he can get her off to safety. The next scene, you see the Shogun's sons, and it's funny because they're sitting there talking about they make some insult. I can't remember what it is, like some fat white cat. They make it seem like it's food that they're going to be served. And it ends up being Fowler, and he's coming to pay tribute to the Shogun. Apparently, because he wants to see the Shogun. He's never met the Shogun. But he meets the sons, and this is the first time this has happened. So he throws the money down, and he's very disrespectful. Akemi's husband stutters. So he stuttered. And then, of course, Abuja Fowler makes fun of him, stuttering. And he's basically like, I brought all this money. Don't I warrant being able to see the Shogun? And the older son, he says it a couple of times, says it would be difficult. So he's not allowed to see him, But we don't know what this plot is, but clearly, obviously other than killing the Shogun, but clearly Fowler feels some kind of way about the way he's been treated, even though he said he tells them he's made the Shogun the second richest man in Japan, I think it is. Anyway, so that was that scene. The next scene is Haji Shindo and the Shogun himself. They're presenting presents to the Shogun during this, festival and Akemi's wedding. Akemi and his second son's wedding. So Haji Shindo presents this cup to the Shogun. At that point, I thought he was going to drink out of it and get poisoned or something. But now he presents this present. And something interesting happens. They don't really address. Butterflies start flying everywhere. And they took it as an auspicious sign that their situation was being blessed, that things were good. But that was a quick hit. You got to see the Shogun. You got to see Haji Shindo kind of acquiesce to him. Obviously, they're still trying to set him up. The next thing you see is Misu going into the castle, and she bumps into Madame Kenji, who is, of course, now working for Akemi, her and her girls. The madam is basically like, I run her house now. She wouldn't want you here. And Misu was like, you're in danger. And she tells Madam Keiji, I can't remember her name, Kaiji, I think her name is, about the plot to kill the Shogun and kill everybody in his castle or in his home. And then Madam Kaiji gets worried. She's like, one of my girls said something about a plot. And I haven't seen her or Akemi since, because, of course, Akemi got locked up by her father. And her father killed the girl. Madam Kaiji doesn't know this at this point. So Misu tells her to run. which she does, and then Misu leaves. The next scene is you see Akemi and her father down in the dungeon. This scene gets interesting. Akemi and her father are down in the dungeon talking. The father's doing most of the talking. Akemi's still upset. And his whole idea is the Shogun's going to die. Akemi is married to the Shogun's son. She's a surviving member of the Shogun's family. She will support her father as the new Shogun. And she's like, I won't do it. And he tells her, he tells her, you drew your first breath because of me. And every breath you draw from here on in is because of me. They talk for a little bit longer, and then Seki breaks in. And he draws his sword on Akemi's father. It's like, no, she's free. You're going to let her go. And tells, Akemi, look, I did what I thought was best for you, and I should have listened to you and done what you wanted, and basically giving her freedom. Father's obviously upset. They lock the father downstairs. They get Akemi and Seki start to try to escape, and that gets dodgy. But Taigen and Ringo, meanwhile, Taigen bumps into Ringo outside the city, and they have a little bit of a tussle with some other guards. Taigen is disguised, if I remember right. But anyway, the whole point is Taigen wants to go warn the Shogun, and he's like, I can't get close to the Shogun by myself. I need some help. Come help me. You always said you wanted to be a great samurai. Come help me be great. So Ringo agrees. And at this point, I'm like, but you're supposed to be waiting for Akemi. What's going to happen when Akemi comes out and you're not there? But anyway, that ends up being a moot point. So Taigen and Ringo go after, try to go get towards the Shogun. And they fight for a little bit. They get pretty close, but they get captured. And Taigen, in true gangster boss samurai style, he's like, look, I know y'all want to kill me or whatever. I'm loyal to Shogun. I'm a samurai. What you need to do is just look. Go and look and see that what I'm saying is true. That Fowler's army is coming, and then kill me. Kill me, but just wait. Go do that first and then kill me. So they go and look, and of course Fowler's army is coming. Shogun is highly impressed and appreciative and tells him, look, give this man a sword. Keep him by my side. He stays by my side to guard me. And so he doesn't leave my side, basically. And then he says Ringo doesn't leave his. So now they're helping guard the Shogun as the army is approaching. And it's about to get real. Akemi and her father, meanwhile, they of course get, they get cornered, not captured, but cornered. And as they're getting cornered, of course, Misu swoops in and chops Suey some folks. Like she's so good at, and tells them to get out of the city. Akemi's like, you're still not my friend. Misu was like, go out there. Taigen's looking for you. She makes some comment about Taigen's not a good man, but he could be great. She's basically like, you need to go and be with Taigen, But again, everybody trying to tell Akemi what she should do. And Seki's the only one who's like, do what you want to do. But at any rate, Misu leaves. Akemi goes out and with Seki and goes outside of the city. Meanwhile, Fowler's army comes through. And they come through. Because, of course, this is, Japan back in the day where they have, bows and arrows and swords and, pouring oil out of the top of the castle, medieval style. It's not medieval because it's Japan, but you know what I'm saying. They're using these tactics. And Fowler has 2,000 guns. So the first 400 guys, first few guys are like, this castle hadn't been breached in 400 years. They, close the door and they get their swords out. And Fowler stops. He's like, this is a good place as any. Do it. They shoot him down. Took like 10 seconds. They go to the next group. The archers are coming. Shoot them down. And they just go place to place to place, shooting them down. And they go all the way to the Shogun. And Fowler takes a few men with guns, maybe a dozen, maybe a few less, and he faces the Shogun. I mean, cut through the city in an hour, With the guns, there was no chance. They just marched in formation and shot them down, and they didn't have weapons that were comparable. So Fowler, talks some nonsense about taking over the city, and basically it's going to be so many white faces in the city trading and doing this that you're going to see my ugly face is more beautiful than your own. Which the irony of that, obviously. Worldwide, in certain places worldwide, if not specifically in Japan. But at any rate, Fowler shoots the Shogun dead. And then it's about to kill the Shogun's son. And Misu pops back up again. So they fight him. Misu, Taigen, who is there, fight to free the Shogun's son and their mom and get them away. And then, of course, Misu goes after Abuja Fowler. Meanwhile, Taigen finds Haji Shindo hiding among the dead. There's a whole bunch of dead people there because, first of all, some people have been shot. One person committed suicide because they were ashamed because the Shogun died. And then all the people that Misu and Taigen chopped up. So it's a bunch of dead bodies, and Taigen looks and sees and pulls Haji Shindo from under one of the dead bodies. And Haji Shindo starts begging, what do you want? Gold, whatever, this and that. And Taigen says something, I can't remember, and kills him. Very unceremoniously. It's just boom, it's over. And Haji Shindo is dead. So that was big. The next thing, Misu is chasing Fowler, and then Taigen helps, and they end up in a three-way confrontation. And Fowler's a formidable fighter because Misu and his sword, and she couldn't kill him. And even with Taigen, they were fighting him, but he got free. And Misu ends up telling Taigen, look, this isn't your fight. And Taigen says, it's your fight, so it's my fight. And she's like, for once, listen. She's like, go find Akemi. Akemi's out there looking for you. Go get her. Go and have babies and have a nice life. Basically. That's not what she said, but basically she's like, go live your life. I'm just trying to kill this guy. I got my own thing going on. And she tosses the sword away from Taigen. So Taigen lays there. But as she's leaving, as Misu is leaving, Taigen says something like, this isn't over or something. And she says, I know. So I don't know what that meant. I don't know if it's a romantic thing. I don't know if it's the fact that Taigen still wants to fight Misu to retain his honor. I don't know if it's because he feels loyal to Misu, but that's why they got to have a season 2, because I need all these questions answered. I can't just have this stuff floating. I need answers. So we need a season 2. Anyway, Misu goes away, and then the next thing is Akemi and Seki at the gate. That was deep. So Akemi and Seki, this episode's going. I mean, this review is going to be long. Sorry. Akemi and Seki are at the gate, and Akemi, they're about to leave, and Akemi's like, we can end this. The city's on fire, by the way. The whole city is just, the name of the episode is The Great Fire of 16-something, 27 or something like that. The whole city's on fire. And there's a gate, and the soldiers are trying to come out. And Akemi's like, if we trap the soldiers in there, they'll burn to death and it'll be over. So they push the gate closed, get it closed with a gun to seal it. Soldiers are dying. They're shooting in between the crack in the gate, but they're there. They're dead. They're dying. And Akemi and Seki are leaving, and of course you hear a gunshot. Akemi stares, turns around, and Seki's been shot. So he falls down. They have a wonderful, beautiful father-daughter moment where he tells her, I want you to be free. I want you to do, because he actually tells her, leave me here if you want. Always what you want, do what you want. Now, personal side note, I love strong women. Akemi is officially my favorite person in this series. She is incredibly strong, particularly despite the way she was raised. I love her character and I love her strength. But anyway, Seki dies, she cries. Taigen ends up coming out and seeing her there, and he tells her, let's go. Let's go. Live our lives somewhere. And she's like, I'm not leaving. And Taigen's like, look, I don't need to be great. I just want to be happy. And she stands up, and they do a great job. They frame her with the fire in the back. She stands up strong. She says, I want to be great. That is officially my favorite scene in Blue Eye Samurai. Anyway, she goes back in and she ends up meeting up after all the fires died down. The next day, she ends up meeting up with her husband, her brother-in-law, and her mother-in-law. But I'll get to that in a second. There's the big scene was Fowler and Misu. Misu finally catches him, or he catches her. They're fighting, and actually he has the upper hand. And he starts squeezing her, and he's like, "Your bones break like a woman." And he's like, "Oh my God!" He realizes that Misu's a woman, and then he starts making some crack about, you let the city burn, because if you think about it, all that wouldn't have happened if Misu hadn't come in, saving the Shogun's family. It's like, you let the city burn. It's like basically a monument to your revenge. And he says, "That's the white in you. Maybe you are mine." And, she's, they're going back and forth about, what's going on. And she's got a knife to his throat, and she wants to know who the other two guys are. And I should have written it down. Skellington, I think, is one of them. And he tells her both of them. And she's getting ready to kill him. And he's like, "You need me, because you're not going to be able to find them without me." And then he alludes to, it's like, "You might have, that guy's had pretty eyes. Maybe you're his. And you're kind of tall like this guy, so maybe that's your father." And she mentions the name Violet as the one she killed, I assume. But she's like, "I found you and I found Violet. I could find them." And he's like, "We lived loud. We lived out loud. These two guys are in hiding." Plus, apparently, he mentions the name London, so you got to imagine they're in London. So, because he was crushing her, and then she got angry and broke free and started beating the brakes off of him, and then put a knife to his throat. And that's, that he was like, basically, "You can't kill me because you need me." So, the show actually ends. I won't go into that, because the show ends with the two of them. Akemi and the Shogun's widow talk for a second, and they talk about Akemi's father and how he's doing. And she said he just needs to rest. And then she says, "Under my care." So is Akemi still going to keep her father prisoner? Is she still going to help her father with this plot? I don't know what she's planning, but she went back to her husband. Don't know about Taigen. She had left him out there outside the city. She went back to her husband, and she's going back to do whatever it is that she thinks she needs to do. Seki alluded to the fact that when he was dying, he said something about how his ideal Japan was with with Akemi ruling it, or something like that. So we'll see how that rolls out, because she could definitely be a queen or an empress or whatever. I don't know what it's called in Japan, a shogunate or shoguness. I don't know. But it's going to be interesting to see Akemi's path. Her path is almost as interesting as Misu's. Misu's is revenge and straightforward, but Akemi's life is really interesting. You could almost have a spin-off show just about Akemi, because her path has been really intriguing. Ringo ends up going out to Master Eiji, finding him, and I know I butchered these names, I apologize. Finds him, tells him, "Look, I waited, and Master never came out." Misu, obviously. He said, "Well, we can wait forever or we can work." So he taps one of his pieces of wood, and Ringo grabs it, and they get to work. So Ringo is with Master Eiji right now. And then the last scene is you see Fowler, and then you see that he's in the bowels of a boat. And in the 1600s, that was not a great place to be. Then they pan out, and you see Misu on the boat, and they're sailing off, ostensibly going to London. Man, there are a lot of shows that I can't wait to see if there's going to be a season 2. This one's set up for so many storylines. There has to be a season 2. I do not watch previews or anything about these shows until I'm completely done. So I'm about to dig into all this stuff and see what they're saying about season 2. Maybe there's one coming. I wouldn't have known because I didn't look at anything. I don't like spoilers. I don't like knowing what's going on. So it's been really cool following this, and now I'm really anxious. I'm really anxious to find out if there's a season 2 on the horizon, because I really want to see where these characters go. Misu, particularly Akemi, Taigen, Ringo, even Madam Kaiji. I want to see where her and the rest of her girls end up. This was amazing. This was an amazing show. And when I first started watching it, I was like, this isn't quite as good as Vinland Saga. I think I was expecting something different. When I got into the fact that this isn't Vinland Saga, this is a different show, I really got into this show. I've had so much fun. My son has done an amazing job. He's getting me hooked on something I never thought I'd be interested in, anime and anime style shows. So even though Cowboy Bebop sounds ridiculous to me, I'm really excited to see how this show goes and if it's as good as these first 2 shows that he picked for me. So thank you, my son. I appreciate you. And we'll see what happens with Cowboy Bebop. But this Blue Eye Samurai was real. It was great. And if the season 2 comes out, I will immediately start watching it.